Still use this microphone for the video feed. Not trying to blow you out. Do you have any announcements? I have two. One is that Tuesday morning is the first Tuesday of August, and that's when the senior food giveaway from Second Harvest is. Do you know how Second Harvest works? Can I tell you real quick? All right. On just north of Muncie, just north of an exchange that was kind of like the bypass, is a warehouse that they receive trucks and food, and it's a pretty big operation. But one of the main ways that happens is there's an algorithm that tracks semis that are carrying food, and that it knows the dates on the food, and if somehow there's an interruption where whatever particular food isn't going to get onto the shelf and be there in enough time in order to sit before the sell-by date, then that food gets rerouted. And that's how Second Harvest gets such large quantities off of semis, is because something blah 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 happened and it's not going to be there in the time that they wanted, and so it comes and then Second Harvest is then distributing it, and I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really neat. Yeah. There's all kinds of things that can happen to mess up logistics. Weather, sleeping, someone didn't load when they said they would load. I mean, there's just all traffic, and then that food would not meet the standards to sit on the shelf.
Indiana.
Go ahead.
Add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana is coming from retail and food service, but anyway, Indiana for all these companies, but Indiana is the precedence and sell-by
Mm-hmm.
hiring based on
Mm-hmm.
consumer
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So that just adds to the coordination.
Yeah.
Happening on
Yeah.
with,
I think it's genius.
and for people to receive it, I think there needs to be a 30-day window
Okay.
from that precedent date.
Okay. Huh. All right. Welcome. Come on in.
We can start now.
Yep. Do you? Anybody else have announcements? All right. Well, let's stand and sing.
Now we can start. We're small, but we're all going to sing, right? Okay. Here we go. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty, so much stronger, the King of glory, the King above all things, who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder and leaves us breathless in awe and wonder, the King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, you would lay down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Who breaks up chaos back into order, who makes the orphan as sons and daughters, who have a glory, the King of glory, who rules the the nations with truth and justice. Shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of glory, the King above all kings. Yeah, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Sing louder out there. All you prisoners in your cells, all you private hells, Kyrie eleison. All you hungry and ignored, who thirst for something more, Kyrie eleison. You who feel so lost but are afraid of being found, you who are in chains but are afraid to live unbound, Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. For all us lovely needy people living in this world, the spinning round and round and round, round and round and round. For all us lovely broken people living in this world, the spinning round and round and round, round and round and round. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. You children ripped and torn, battered, bruised, and worn, Kyrie eleison. All who look hate in the face, locked in hate's embrace, Kyrie eleison. You who've given up and can't see the spinning round and round and round, round and round and round. For all who've lost are giving up their faith. I've lost my place. Here we go. All us lovely broken people living in this world that's spinning round and round and round, round and round and round. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. There is mercy enough, there is grace enough, there is love enough for all of us. There is mercy enough, there is grace enough, there is love enough for all of us. There is mercy enough, there is grace enough, there is love enough for all of us.
You can have a seat. The Gospel of Matthew is on the table, our text for this morning. You know what I really want, I guess I'd say really want for you or from you? Your imaginations. And I don't mean imagination in a fantastical way, but where the imagination lies, like the conceptual framework of the world. That's what I would really like to impact. And I'm going to attempt that this morning with this text. Are you ready? Now, when Jesus heard about the beheading of John the Baptist, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples. And the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. In the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, we often talk about King David being sort of an archetype for many things in life and what would be to come. I don't think that we talk about this very often, though. Did you know that God did not want the ancient Israelites to have a king? Were you aware of that? Okay. Yeah. So, God also wasn't too thrilled when David wanted to build a temple. Did you know that? Yeah. David says, "I have built my house, Lord, and now I'm going to build a house for you." And the Lord replies, when did I ever say I needed a house? Did I ask you to build a temple for me? Nonetheless, go ahead and have at it. The same thing for a king. The people wanted a king, to protect them. It's a type of contract that like a consent almost, whether it's implicit or explicit, a sort of consent that we give to the king, and then the king provides protection for us. In a small sense, that's what sort of like gangster families are. That's how they operate. In a large sense, that's how a country operates. Right? We pay taxes, and we expect the country to protect us and to keep gasoline markets flowing, to keep the farmers happy and producing food, right? That's sort of the implicit expectations. And if the provision and the protection of the king fall off past a certain threshold, then the people are like, I don't consent to this anymore, and bad things happen or violent things happen. The same way, if the king oversteps past a certain threshold, then the people are like, I don't consent to this any longer. It's too much. And so it's just this balance trying to find out. But God, it's a theological statement too. Not just the logistics, not just community building, not just nation building or state building or anything like that. It's a theological statement. You don't need a king. You don't need a king for protection. You don't need a king to make decisions for you. You can do that together as the 12 tribes. You can send representatives, and they can get together as a council, and they can make decisions. You don't need a singular king. Well, they said, we want to be like everybody else, and we're afraid. And so the Lord said, okay, you can have a king, but here's what he's going to do. He's going to take your sons and daughters and enlist them, or take them for whatever purposes he has. He's going to force you to build roads. You're going to do the labor, and he's going to tax you for it. He's going to tax and use that the money that you gave in order to do his building projects. It's going to be a taking, and you don't need it. And they said, we need it. So there's a great example of God condescending to what people wanted. He told them, not a good idea. They said, we still want it. And God condescended and said, okay, have a temple, have a king. It's important to know then that theological movement of having a king ends up being a great story for us in our imaginations, in our conceptual framework, even how we see the world today and ourselves in it. And it's what I'd like to throw out there is something that a category or a term that we can use commonly in our group discussions is a theology of empire. When you go through the Hebrew Bible, you consistently find that it is the pharaohs who are overthrown. It is the Xerxes who are megalomaniacs. It is the Caesar who calls himself God. And all of these people rise up and tell the rest of the folks, you need me on top so that you can eat. And that the rest of the scripture is trying to undo that allegiance or that alliance or that relationship, trying to uncouple our affections and our allegiance from the empire first. And that's what this text is. Jesus is uncoupling our allegiance and our alliance and our assumptions that it is the king who feeds us. Are you with me so far? Okay. King or empire can be the little fiefdom of my own heart. Right? I can try to be king of my own life, family. I can try to do things in a empire sort of way. Or It could be as big as literal empire, like the U.S. or Rome or ancient Greece or whatever the current world dominant power happens to be. We happen to live in a time where we actually live in the dominant power, which is similar to the first century, when all of this is happening under the watch of Rome. I shared with the group upstairs that Caesar even had a coin stamped with a cornucopia. You know, those funnel baskets? And my mom used to have one that plastic fruit came out of. Obviously, it was around more than my house. So there was a coin that was stamped with a cornucopia and Caesar's name. So the king's name, the Caesar. Caesar is just a different language for emperor, for king, for czar. It's, just different languages. All means the same thing. Stamped with a cornucopia, his name, and on a coin. So money, food, the king. Don't forget it. Don't forget who feeds you. And the ancient test, if you wanted to be a leader, could you feed an army? If you can feed an army, then most likely you're going to end up being a warlord or a chieftain or a king. If you can't, then you don't win. But that's the test. Can you be a leader? You have to be able to feed the people. And Caesar is making sure that he lives in your imagination, in your conceptual framework of the world. By every time you touch a coin to buy bread, there's food, money, and his name. And then you eat. Pretty powerful stuff. Woven in, soaking in to the fabric of our lives. So that these kings, whether they be real kings or figurative kings or theological kings, they live in our imaginations, and we act accordingly. Basically, kings want themselves to be idols for you and me. So this text, how does it begin? When Jesus heard that John the Baptist had been beheaded. Do you know who beheaded John the Baptist? A king. At a party for all the people that wanted to ride on his coattails to get their pet projects approved or to pick up crumbs from his table. And they drank too much, and he made a promise to a woman in front of everyone, and she said, I'll take John the Baptist's head on a silver platter. The politics of the day produced John's head on a silver platter. And so what must Jesus be thinking when he heard that? Anybody? Take a shot at it. Mm-hmm. 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 I appreciate that you talked about the friendship first, and mourning and grief, because that certainly would have been part of it. And then also, am I next? Jesus has the capacity to turn up the heat on purpose to make it boil over. And he has to decide, am I going to do that now or not? Yeah.
Also, the whole thing that has all that power and grief and all that, and the resurrection him,
Mm-hmm.
he never allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm. 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 It is.
So he withdrew to part his own
Yes.
matter and so impactful that he once again he needed to recharge his own spirit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the 100% man and 100% God, Jesus, has to self-limit. Yeah. For a plan. John's also his cousin. His relative. And Jesus sort of took, John was the forerunner of this movement to convert the nation back to what they should have been doing. And Jesus is the one who is taking that over and then finding himself that he's going to have to take a different route, which ends up being the cross. The last section, the last line, about 5,000 men besides women and children. So, John the Baptist gets beheaded by the king, and it was convenient to get rid of his mouth, basically. He was criticizing them, the royal family. So they exercised their power, and they thought that they could, that wouldn't overstep the threshold of what people would tolerate. Wouldn't boil things over. So they got rid of him. Then this takes place in Galilee. And 5,000 men is a way of counting soldiers, plus women and children. So this crowd is 12, 15, 20,000 people. And if that number of people were walking around in Galilee, like headed back and forth to an event, you would see them. You couldn't help but see them. Everyone's seeing them. How would the Roman soldiers, the Roman, the puppet kings, those in power, how would they start to feel when they beheaded the forerunner, his cousin, and now there are 20,000 people amassed in Galilee? You all know that you all are very interested in the theater, right? What is this public theater going on? What'd you say? Tear gas. Yes, that's right. Yeah, which is a very different thing in the place that we live. Intentionally, you can't stop people from assembling. Everywhere else in the history of the world, assemblies get stopped. Yeah, tear gas, right. What else are they must they be thinking? What are they getting nervous about? People rioting, yes. How is Jesus' presence making them nervous? Too popular? Is he going to announce himself as the upstart king? To re-establish what all these people want re-established? Jesus does not shy away from playing right into their anxiety and their nervousness. What does he do? He feeds them. He passes the test for anyone who wants to build an army. Do you have the capacity to feed them? And he does it out in the public. There's the question that the two questions that I've been trying to circle around as we go through this summer is, what is Jesus like? And then also the second one, what is it that those in the text aren't accepting that Jesus is inviting them to accept? So let me ask. From this event, the beheading of his cousin, he withdraws to the wilderness. It says desert, but it's wilderness. When do you remember hearing about people in the wilderness before? John came from the wilderness, and the children of Israel wandered around the wilderness for 40 years. Did they have to work to eat in the wilderness? No. How did the food get there? The only labor they had to do was bend over and pick it up. There was no hoeing. There was no irrigation. There was no planting. There was no harvesting. There was no labor. When do you recall a time where there was plenty of food and nobody had to labor for it. There was no food. The food was not associated with the sweat of our brow. Yes, the garden, Eden. The wilderness is the safe place. The wilderness is the desert is the safe place to go to be fed by the hand of God. The palace is not the safe place. The economic system is not the safe place. The empire is not the safe place. The king is not the safe place. Your labor, the fruit of your labor, gets taken away from you in those situations. In the wilderness, you don't have to labor at all. Food just appears. So Jesus withdraws to the wilderness. He doesn't get as much time as he would like, and then the crowds appear. From this public theater that Jesus is engineering, how would you describe some characteristics and traits of what Jesus is like?
Well, he wasn't shy, but he also wasn't trying to establish, just like the kings around. If he wanted to be a king, he would have established it right then,
Mm-hmm.
because they had to own it.
Mm-hmm.
But so his didn't allow self-ambition to overtake him.
Okay. He's not a guy who allowed self-ambition to overtake him. That's something we can say about him. Yeah. How else can we describe him? What's he like? Uh-huh. And then he doesn't do it.
That statement to me comes from like the idea of like displaying I qualify, but I have my aim is higher than yours.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that actually, what you are saying, I think about what he's trying to do in terms of what people are not accepting that he would like for them to accept. And it's, for me, as I read that, it's the uncoupling of your ultimate allegiance to a system, a party, a person, your own strength, your own checkbook, your own ability, your heritage, the status of your job, just whatever it is that we have given ultimate allegiance to, whatever it is that we cultivate our affections for. I think the thing that he's trying to do is for us to uncouple that and rather seek what is given for free by God. Mm-hmm. You know, that results in a power, though. It's a different kind of power. It's a power that happens by itself. You don't have to take it. You don't have to implement it. It springs up.
I'm gonna chase a rabbit.
Go for it.
So going back to God telling the Israelites to be king.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people now at this time, obviously wanted Jesus to establish that.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the rabbit comes.
Okay.
So if Jesus is saying, just like God told the Israelites, you don't need a king. And when they broke the bread and the kid offered what he had,
Mm-hmm.
and when that happened, people saw that it's okay to give, and then there was plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Within themselves was everything they needed without a king.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just that Jesus made loaves and fishes appear,
Mm-hmm.
because then they need a king.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah. Yeah. It does. And I think probably what you're alluding to is sometimes when folks read this text or these texts like this, they wonder, was the event the thing where once Jesus started passing out tiny little bits of food, that everyone all of a sudden was not so stingy and they brought their food out? I don't think. I'm pretty sure that isn't the intention of the text to say that. Although it's in there in the distribution, right? Everyone is distributing to everyone, and then there's so much that they have left over, and that Jesus makes sure that each one of his disciples has to walk through a 20,000 person crowd with a full basket, bringing it back to him. They're not going to forget that, you know. So there is this, like he didn't pass out food at all, right? He made sure that it happened as a community, right? One who a wannabe is going to go around and make sure that you know it came from him.
It has to be reminding the people.
Totally. Roman soldiers know it, and the people know it. That's what he's doing. Yeah. And so he actually, I don't want to say not in a false way, or not in a way of like deceit, falsehood or deceivement, but he's leading them along for a bait and switch. They think that. They wonder when they're going to get their swords. Yeah, Rome thinks that. He's leading everybody. I mean, if you think that, Peter thinks that, yeah. Even after 3 years, he thinks that. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Mm-hmm. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's so absurd when he does turn up the heat and boil the whole system over. So, you know, a system can only hold, a human system, political country, a country, anything, a community can only hold so much tension and anxiety before it has to do something. Now, it could be let out like air out of a balloon, and then it would go down, or it has to explode out the top. And the way that he does that is he picks a baby donkey where his feet drag the ground. That's ridiculous. I feel like anybody standing around, any of those rabbis or Pharisees who actually had a good understanding of maybe Isaiah, like they're probably smiling, like chuckling. Oh, you know, they get it. Yeah. On the baby donkey. Yeah. 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 I looked up some measurements of inseams and ancient bodies and things like that. So the measurement to the foals, whatever, what's this called right here, everybody? All you horse people, what's that? What's this section called that you measure from? Doesn't matter. But it's like 24 to 28 inches at that age. And his inseam was definitely 28 inches or more, you know. That's not what I came to talk about this morning. But, yeah, so he's doing this on, you know, his way of boiling things over is to ride into Jerusalem at the right time. And all the kids are chanting, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, which is the phrase that you use for the Messiah, when the Messiah comes. And he's on a baby donkey. So, what is Jesus like from this story? I mean, explicitly, the text says that he was moved with compassion. So, an emotional guy. That word for compassion is guts. almost womb, like mercy, womb, guts, compassion, that that comes from deep inside the belly. That's that word right there. So he's an emotional guy, compassionate guy. What else is he like? I'm going to say skilled. He knows his song before he starts singing. You know, he knows what he is working this crowd to. He's adept. He's a little tricky. Yeah.
There are so many stories of Jesus manipulating, not manipulating people, but manipulating their expectations
Mhm.
to get what he
Yeah.
prove a point,
Yeah.
achieve a goal.
Mhm. Yeah, and it isn't for purposes of deception or malice or to steal or to cause harm. It's moving the shell. It's the shell game, right? Where's the ball under the shells? Pay attention, right? You're really gonna want to watch this. You know, that's the kind of thing he's doing. Subversive, yes.
And again, not to overthrow him,
Right.
but change everybody's.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he does take his place as God. He does feed the people. He is the king who feeds people. He is God who creates food out of nowhere. And then he sends them home. He doesn't tax them. He doesn't organize them. He doesn't take up a collection. He doesn't give them marching orders. It was just togetherness. Just togetherness.
Something that I struggle with is taking myself out of mode of thought where I'm thinking about ideology. There's a really powerful framework for viewing people, movements within people. Are you a community of vulnerability or a community of strength? Communities of vulnerability bands together and say we're weak in the same way as we band together,
Mhm.
we'll be stronger.
Mhm.
Strength say we're strong in the same way, so I like you, so we'll fuse together and make ourselves a little stronger.
Mhm.
And stories like this, I mean, all dichotomies really, but stories like this are centered around plucking humanity out of that dichotomy
Mhm.
and saying, you're not a community of strength or vulnerability, you're a community.
Mhm.
Full stop.
Yes.
Nothing can really,
Right.
nothing else matters.
And then after forming that, then he asks the question, what do you want?
Yeah.
What are you going to do next?
Paralyzed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If for a person who doesn't, who has trouble saying what they want, yeah.
But I will say, the power in this for me comes from, if I don't have any of those other dichotomies in my head, if I've been carried out of them, it's far easier to realize what I want.
Mhm. It sure is. Great work. Great work. Isaiah says, let me get it. Where is it? Isaiah says, hey, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread? What is Isaiah's point? What is he trying to do when he says, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Huh? Be fed? Accept abundance? It's also it's also subversive. It's completely destabilizing. If the food is free, it's completely destabilizing to the whole royal arrangement, to the whole kingly arrangement. If Jesus is giving food away for free, it destabilizes the whole political and economic system. Come, buy without price. Come, buy and eat. That is the invitation in the bread. On Passover evening, he took the bread, broke the bread, gave the bread, and invited them to share in his imagination, his view of the world, his theology, his understanding of that all people are made in God's image, his understanding of power, his understanding of compassion. Will you take this and eat this with me? It's free, by the way. I mean, I will be a king, but of a different kind. Will you participate in life? I won't be here, but will you carry that on while I'm not here? So in that spirit, I would like to take communion this morning. Will someone help me? I think that I will, I'll just come to the tables. Is that okay? Here is the pre-packaged ones. It has a wafer on top and juice in it. You take the wrapper off, and if you'd like one of those, I'm going to set it right here, and you can just come pick one up. Otherwise, if you'll take that. And I think you can get, in this, like, in the breaking of this bread, the tearing of it open, and the physicality of it, and the physicality of this text. There's baskets, heavy carrying, walking through 20,000 sweaty people, picking up the food, getting rid of the food. Like, he's been doing this the whole time. And then right before he gets arrested, he invites them to share in it. And so I would just reflect upon, what does that invitation mean? Come by without price. Yes, thank you. There's a rest I think in this as well, come buy and eat without price means there's not a whole lot of labor that went into that, that God feeds for free. Jan and Cindy, will you send us home?
I see the King of Glory coming on the clouds with fire. The whole earth shakes, the whole earth shakes. I see His love and mercy washing over all our sin. The people sing, the people sing. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. I see a generation rising up to take their place with selfless faith, with selfless faith. I see a near revival stirring as we pray and seek. We're on our knees, we're on our knees. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Heal my heart and make it clean. Open up my eyes to the things unseen. Show me how to love like you have loved me. Break my heart for what breaks yours. Everything I am for your kingdom's cause. As I walk from earth unto eternity. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. 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 Hosanna in the highest.
Probably one of the most clever things that Jesus did was when people came to him and said, should we pay taxes or not? The fact that they asked him that question in the first place means they were starting to understand his point. Hey, should we pay taxes? And he says, whose image is on the money? And they said, Caesar. And so then Jesus says, well, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and then give to God what is God's. Implying, whose image are you made in? Go into a world of abundance with eyes open for the miraculous workings of our God. And as you go, may the blessing of our God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, be with you always. Amen. You're dismissed. See you soon.